So I am sharing with you my design team project for my creative spirit. And this is a junk journal. And I think some people get caught up in the name junk journal, that somehow everything you use in there has to be, junk. But I prefer calling them more like a repurposed journal. So the idea is things that you have already, repurpose them. For instance, if you have envelopes, either ones that were, you got in the mail, that maybe you got a set of cards and envelopes and somehow you end up with a bunch of envelopes, that kind of thing. Use the envelope and turn it into a pocket within a journal. So it's really, like I said, it's taking what you've got and repurposing it. The other side of that is also, we often work on a project and you end up with a bunch of pieces left over. And you don't necessarily have, for instance, the main, like for here in this book, I've used the Cosmos from Stamperia. I have a very small amount of just little tiny bits that I haven't used within this journal, but I don't have any of the larger pages left. I can use those little bits if they fit the color scheme in a whole other project, right? That's repurposing. It's just using what you got and giving it love again, if you will, letting it shine in something new. So here, what I prefer to do when making a junk journal is just kind of, start with a theme or start with a kit. For instance, here we have the Cosmos collection by Stamperia. Use that as your base and then go from there and find things. So everything in this book is beyond the Stamperia paper is and a few other things I'll show. And those are all from my creative spirit. Are all things that I have left over or books that are, I've read or received or purchased at like a flea market that just go perfectly with this beautiful paper. And that's a junk journal for me. So getting into the book, this is a hardcover, and this uses chipboard, again, from my creative spirit. Then there's some black cardstock on the cover and the inside cover, again, from my creative spirit. And I always bind my album covers with the method that Claire shares in one of her tutorials. And I use her, let me get that out and show it to you, her construction tape, black construction tape, and that's this. And so this one was made using that black construction tape. It's really great. It's strong, yet you can rip it. So it makes a really good cover. It, nicely moves back and forth, opens lovely, and you don't have to worry about it cracking, ripping. It's really good stuff. So I will have a link for all of the supplies from my creative spirit down below, and a link to her tutorial on how she makes the album covers, because like I said, I found that one and I have just used it on everything. It is how I bind all my books. So the other, what I've done is the signatures have been sewn together using a pamphlet stitch, but they were bound into the book using ribbons, as you can see. And so looking at the end there, you can see that each signature is held into the album cover with the ribbons. But I don't like, if you don't stitch the signatures together, your pages can slip back and forth. So I always stitch all my signatures together first before putting them in with the ribbons, if this is the binding method. So let's take a look here. Looking at the cover, this is, again, some Stamperia pages. And this is a really old music book that I have. And you'll see a lot of the music pages throughout. The back cover, this paper is from, like I said, repurposed. So this was paper that I made for a project a long time ago. And at the time when I kept it, I thought, oh, I'm never going to use this. I didn't actually, I made it for that project and I ended up not using it because I didn't like how it turned out. But it actually ended up being just perfect for this. So it's just some spray I was playing with and thought it would work for that project. It didn't. But like I said, you don't throw those kinds of things away. I just put them in, and I swear that was probably a good year ago that I made that. So it's been sitting, not getting used. And like I said, that's what a junk journal is for me. So looking inside, again, I have the black cardstock and behind. Now, I have a bunch of little space pictures that are from, I'm a space nut. I love astronomy. And so I've got a lot of books that I've kept from a child, but also books that I've purchased at flea markets because as soon as I see anything astronomy, I have to get it. So there's a lot of astronomy pictures throughout here that are all from those books. It just gives them new life. And this is just on some craft cardstock. So now, the craft is one of my favorite elements, substrates to use in just about everything. That and black, and you can see they just look gorgeous together. And so I buy my craft in bulk in all kinds of different weights. And so I've used quite a bit here. And also, you can see I've done a lot of sewing. I like to add the little sewing element. I'm not good at it. You can see there'll be a lot of little knots and whatnot throughout. It's not exactly straight, but I think that adds a little something to it as well. And so you can see I also sewed the pocket in rather than glue. So this is one of the, one thing I love about Stamperia, and it's perfect for using as a theme, a starter for a journal, because you have the gorgeous papers, but there's also several pages in each set that have journal cards, little elements that you can cut out. All kinds of wonderful things are always part of their collections. Also, you can see here, I've left this as is, but you could fussy cut out the deer and use them throughout. There's all kinds of elements that you can use within these pages. So the really great way to start off a journal or a album, anything you're making with them. They're just perfect. So, and then this paper is actually, whenever I use a book and I take it apart and use, the pages within other projects, in every book you typically have a first page. Sometimes it might be multiple. Those are because, to hold the signature, it gives an empty page to start your book. I love those. I keep every single one of them because it's nice, just plain piece of paper. These were quite thin, and I wanted to use it as journal cards, so there's two, and I just stitched them together and then added an element that I think this is just a offcut from some of the other items throughout the book. Another thing I love to do is pergamano, which is embossing on parchment paper, so you'll see that throughout. I thought the white on the vellum looked really perfect with this particular set. And I sit and just do pergamano as a relaxing thing, and I have a pile about like this thick of different things that I've made, just with no purpose of using them, but it gives me a whole bunch of stuff that I can then pull out to use throughout my books. And again, here is just some plain craft paper. Another book I used is, this is a book from that I purchased in Armenia at a used books store there. It's a science book, and so it had a lot of math, and I thought that was perfect with astronomy, science, math, physics, perfect. So I pulled out the Armenian. You can see here, it's in Armenian, and you can see the math throughout. I just thought it was perfect for this book. And what I wanted, and you'll see throughout, is on the pages where there was a lot of busyness, or here with the words, I wanted to have plenty of places where you could journal. So I really thought of this book as a journaling book, and so made sure there was lots of places, but left, not every one of them is covered, so that you can put pictures, add your own page for journaling. This is an old National Geographic map. The old or even current National Geographic magazines, often in there you get these maps. And so I had a bunch of these star maps, astronomy maps from National Geographic. And I thought they went perfect in here. And this is, again, this was plain one time with dyeing some paper that I had, so it went perfect in here. Given the size of the journal, you have 12 by 12 papers. I had a bunch of offcuts from making them to the size of the journal. And I used these to make pockets and other elements throughout. So this is 2 offcuts, and then I just stitched them together. And you can see in between, so I didn't add bulk into the signature, I used washi tape. It's just put together so it adds strength, and that's used here in the middle, so that it nicely turns. And this is made into a pocket for a little craft tag. And this is actually a old stamp. Oops, that's not it. This is it. I purchased a little stand to hold I have a bunch of these little hand stamps. And this came with it. So I bought a little stand to hold them all, and this was in there. And I don't have any clue. It looks like a little signature. I just thought it just looks perfect with this. So I had a lot of fun with this one. And then these are offcuts from the other elements. And again, this is, you'll see most of the ribbons that I've used don't exactly match each other, because again, these are just remnants, pieces that I had left over. I never get rid of even the smallest bit of ribbon, fabric, because they can definitely be used throughout. Oh, and this little eyelet is a We Are Memory Keepers eyelet, and that will be down in the list of items to purchase. And more of this end papers from books. Like I said, I always keep these. They make perfect pages. And another little pergamano page. I went back and added Cosmos. The Stamperia page was called Cosmos, and I happened to have a little template for saying Cosmos. And this is a page out of an atlas, an old atlas that I had, and it just happened to have a couple of pages in the atlas that had to do with astronomy and in terms of the Earth for seasons, I believe it was, and then also the constellations above. And again, this is one of the journal cards, just stitched onto some craft paper. It just gives it a little more stability. Some little elements there. And you can see here, I'll pull this to the side, here is my stitching for each signature. And again, it's just held in with the ribbon. And also in the kit, in the collection, are these wonderful tags. There's this size, and then there's some little ones. And again, I just backed that with craft to give it a little more stability. And this is the other side of the pocket. And just bits left over. Always use those bits. Keep everything. They come in useful and they look great. That's the other side of that page from the map. And again, some paper that I dyed. It was grid paper, which is perfect for on the other side of that Armenian page. And here again is some offcuts, and I believe this is one of the journal cards, and I just fussy cut out the little owl as an element, and some more pages from a book made into a little journal card. Is just gorgeous paper, really gorgeous paper, and I love the colors. And here I think, so after fussy cutting out, you know, these elements, you end up, of course, with a piece that, you know, shows where you fussy cut that piece out, but it makes really nice little elements behind something, for instance. So I don't even, you know, don't get rid of those either. My sewing machine has a lot of really great little elements that you can add, so that's done with the sewing machine. This is actually a Army radio assembly book that I found at a flea market a long time ago, and it's from 1949, so you can see May 1949. It's for assembling a radio. I just thought it sciencey, right? Cosmos. And here's another just offcut used to make it like a little pocket, slide pocket for, this is one of the tiny little tags and one of the larger tags. Both, again, backed on craft. Gives you an area to journal, but also gives the tag a little more stability. Another picture for one of my books. Some more music paper. And this one happens to say, it's German. I forget what Kunst, but I think it's art and nature. I don't remember what it translates to, but I thought this page was perfect for this book because the whole point are the, you know, the different sayings that are in the papers for this collection is about the melding of nature and art and the beauty of the world. Here's another piece of vellum. This one just backed onto a piece of craft cardstock. This actually, this paper back here is an envelope. I guess I repurposed those. It was gorgeous paper, and I thought it went really nicely with the colors of the paper. So cut out that piece. I love this page. Didn't touch it. Couldn't do anything to this. It's just gorgeous. And here we have a belly band made from some paper. It's backed, so this paper is pretty thin, so I backed it with some craft cardstock and I just ripped it. I like that look, just the rip. And then I love this picture. This was in one of my books. And again, remnants of some lace from another project, just as a nice little tag there. Another little pocket from one of the remnants. And this is, I think this even the same ribbon as I used maybe on one of the, I don't remember, but it's actually a ribbon. And then I wanted a nice large card, but I only had this little bit of paper, so I added a little bit of that other paper that I made. More little elements to write on. And these little pieces were from a journal card from the collection, but I wanted to fussy cut out the pieces that were in there and use someplace else. And so kept all the little elements that were on there. Made a cute little addition to that page. This is that radio. And some more pergamano. And here's one of the journal cards made into a little pocket for tag. And again, just little bits that were left over. And I think this was from a science book as well. It had some end papers that I really liked and kept those. Sometimes the end papers are not, blank. This one had all kinds of stuff on it, so I kept that. Just loved it. And some elements from some astronomy books. Another little fussy cut from one of the journal cards. And this is actually taken from a magazine from somewhere around 1850. And I think he's surveying. I'm not entirely certain what he's doing, but I just thought it looked really neat. And one of the remnants. This is another end paper. Just a little different texture. And one of the offcuts again, just made into a little tuck for one of the journal cards. And again, I backed it. Love this. This paper is just gorgeous. And again, some of the offcuts into a little pocket for one of the journal cards. Really enjoyed doing all the stitching in this book. And this is, a little journal spot and a little fussy cut out wolf. There was a whole page of all kinds of different sayings. They were in, I believe this is Italian, Spanish, Italian. I think it's Italian. But a whole page of them. And so there, you could sing them throughout the book here. I really loved them. Used every single one of them. Like here. I looked them all up, so to see what they said, but I didn't write it down, so. But like I said, that all has to do with art and nature. It's really gorgeous. So this is, again, another of the offcuts from paper, from the pages. And I had a bunch of these little bits left over, and just thought, I'll just put them in here for like a little notebook. So these are the bits that I didn't use. And what I did was staple them together and then glued the back page onto this folded piece. And then a little remnant over the top to just hide the staples. And then this little remnant here, so you can use this as a label. So notes, ledger. Cosmos. Like I said, I went back and added that to a bunch of the little pieces that I had done. So, oh, Cosmos. I think this is cheesecloth. Like I said, you can find your stuff everywhere. I love this radio book. And I love how this page gives you a nice little place for journaling. And on this side, we have another belly band. And this was, I believe this is from that atlas. And I just put it on some cardstock, so when you take your card in and out, it didn't warp it. And again, this is one of the pieces that were left over from all the fussy cutting. They make really nice little elements. And then here, I took one of the journal cards and then just used my X-Acto knife, went around the little froggy and one of the tags from the collection, and he makes a nice little pocket for the card. I'm a sucker for atlases. If I see an atlas at a garage sale, flea market, I gotta have it. I have way too many atlases. But they're great. They make wonderful elements in your journals. Another page from one of my books. I love this guy. Oh, that one's a little thick. And oh, this card's on this side. Another little page from a book. And there was all these wonderful circles, of course, moons and constellation images. And this one I just used as a little tuck spot for this little piece. And I think this is a remnant again. It wasn't a journal card. But it makes a nice little journal card. And then again, this is another envelope. Just took the back of it because it was just so pretty and the color was perfect for this. And then makes a nice little pocket for one of the tags. And then again, the back is the same as the front with one of the journal cards stitched into the cardstock. And again, this was one of the last little remnants I had. And I just added a little bit here. Just because I had those little bits left over, use them. And on the back, just added a little craft to give you a journal spot. So that is the book. Like I said, keep all your bits. You can use them, like for instance, all the bits that I had from the Cosmos. They made perfect little elements and additions throughout the book. But also, like I said, that one paper that messed up and didn't look good with the project that I had made perfect elements for this book. So keep all those bits. And I really hope you enjoyed this. If you have questions, leave them down below in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and go and check out My Creative Spirit. She has wonderful tutorials, really great supplies, and she gives a lot of really good advice. Her tips are great, and I love, and I've used everything constantly. So definitely go take a look at her. And I hope you enjoy this. Have a great day. See you next time. Bye-bye.